Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Hi there, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be reading a horror short story. So if you like horror stories, please subscribe. And also thank you to all the patrons supporting this channel. You guys rock my world and I appreciate you so much. So let's jump into the story. So our story begins with this sound effect. And if you listen really closely, it's actually faint wind howling through a narrow alley. And then we get this slow voice. And he says, in the ancient Medina of Fez, where time clings to every stone and alley, there existed an old shop tucked between two crumbling reefs. It was called the Souk of Forgotten Things, and its keeper, Hajj Abdullah, was older than memory itself. He had a crooked back, a cataract-clouded eye, and a reputation for selling objects that were not entirely normal. One fog-choked evening, a young woman named Layla entered the Souk. She had just moved to Fez from Casablanca after a painful divorce, searching for peace and purpose among the sacred court of prayer and the rustling silk of the old city. Sound effect, bell jingling. As a door opens, her eyes settled on a large, dust-covered mirror propped against a wall in the corner of the shop. Its frame was silver, tarnished with age and engraved with symbols she couldn't place, ancient Amazigh script mixed with strange glyphs that seemed to shimmer faintly in the shadows. How much for the mirror? He didn't answer at first. He stared at her with his good eye, then muttered, "It doesn't belong to you." She laughed humorlessly. "I'll pay double." He sighed and whispered, "It speaks, but only to the broken-hearted." Pause. Layla smiled sadly. "Then if perhaps it will speak to me." Scene shift, sound effect, faint whispering, indistinct voices. That night she placed the mirror in her modest riad directly across from her bed. At first it was just a beautiful relic, but by the third night the dreams began. Vivid visions of a woman in black veiled in shadow whispering in slow voice. Then came the whispers when she was awake. "Layla, he never loved you." She would spin around, heart hammering. But the room was always empty. Only the mirror stood still watching. It didn't show her reflection anymore. Instead, it revealed flickers of a different room, one filled with candlelight and blood and screaming. Sound effect, low growing hum of whispering voices. She returned to the souk the next morning, desperate. "It's cursed," she said, trembling. "There's a woman inside, she speaks to me." He refused to meet her gaze. "I told you it doesn't belong to you." But she insists. That mirror came from a Tizgawi near the edge of the Dates Gorge. It was forged by a Talib who lost his mind after invoking a jinn in the mirror silver. "How do I stop it?" "You don't. It's yours now. It knows your sorrow. That's how it enters." She tried to get rid of it. She covered it, smashed it, even left it on the street. But each time she returned to her room, the mirror was there. Whole, clean, humming with whispers, wind blowing, faint female laughter. One night she stood in front of it and screamed, "What do you want from me?" The woman in black stepped closer in the reflection. "You invite him and I'm here because you're hurting, because you're lonely, because you think you're worthless. You asked me to come. Finish what your pain began." Layla collapsed weeping. "Please, just leave me alone." The mirror flickered. Then for a moment, her ex-husband's face appeared. Eyes gouged, mouth sewn shut. She fainted. The next morning, her neighbor, a kind old woman named Zara, knocked on the door. No answer. Inside, she found Layla lying unconscious in front of the mirror. A strange glyph burned into her hand. Zara took the mirror to a local imam, who called a scholar of the old ways, a Rakis from the Atlas Mountains. He examined the symbols and grew pale. "This is no ordinary jinn. This is a Namla, a whispering entity. It feeds on heartbreak, planting seeds of madness." They buried the mirror deep in the desert, sealed with Quranic verses and salt. But the Rakis warned, it will return when another broken soul calls it. Slow voice. Today, in a riad in Marrakesh, a tourist from Europe finds an old mirror in a hidden stall. It calls to her, whispering in a language she doesn't understand, but sorrow. Sorrow is universal. Final sound effect, wind blowing through broken glass, fading into silence. Okay, so I thought this was a really interesting story, because I feel like sometimes when we heartbroken or we feeling sad or depressed, we can turn to things like social media, and we can see people as lives, and it feels like they speaking directly to us, almost like this mirror was doing to Layla. And so it is interesting. Sometimes we can feel connected to other people through their sadness or their joy. And so this mirror basically becomes a conduit for this supernatural being to enter this woman's life and play on her emotions. And honestly, that happens a lot with depression and grief. Sometimes those feelings can consume you, and sometimes you need to find help because it can become very dangerous. And so I thought this was a really interesting way to write about someone suffering from depression and grief, because we do often talk about those topics, and we certainly do often talk about them in the realm of horror. And so this author does a really great job of taking something that is very relatable and very human and mixing it with horror. And honestly, that is what I love about horror. I think that the best horror comes from things that are relatable, or things that are rooted in reality. Because if we can relate to something, then it becomes more frightening because we know that those things exist, we know that those things can happen. And so I think that this author did a really great job of creating a story that is very relatable and also very horrific. And I do want to reduce this topic to something that is so simple and easy to explain. But I think that the main character's name is Lila, right? And I think that her story symbolizes how important it is to seek out help when you're struggling with these emotions, because it could save your life. And obviously she's fictional. But I think that there's a lot of people who could relate to her story and might not know where to turn or might not know how to cope with those feelings. And so hopefully you have people in your life that you can turn to. And if you don't, there are resources available. And I have put a link in the description box below if you'd like to reach out for help. And I hope that you enjoyed this story. I thought it was very, very creepy. And if you liked this story, please consider leaving a like and subscribing because I put out new videos every single week. And if you want to support this channel, you can check out the merch by clicking the link in the description box below. I have a few items that are pretty cool, so check it out. And also you can become a patron by clicking the join button in this video or by clicking the link in the description box below. And if you want to listen to more horror stories, you can check out my podcast. We put out new episodes every single week. And if you want to listen, you can click the link in the description box below. I'll be reading a horror short story. So if you like horror stories, please subscribe. And until next time, stay safe, stay spooky, and remember John shot first.